They were begging us for pads and tampons. Is America's Iran war breaking the U.S. Navy? USS Boxer's female crew faces a desperate shortage as reports raise fresh concerns over basic supplies. Family member exposes a shocking shortage aboard the USS Boxer, with sailors reportedly struggling to access essential hygiene products. USS Boxer report raises troubling questions over conditions at sea as the carrier faces prolonged operational pressure. Were family members forced to mail hygiene products to USS Boxer sailors amid reported shortages on board? Another American warship is facing trouble at sea, marking a fresh setback for U.S. troops and raising concerns over deployment conditions. The amphibious assault ship USS Boxer is reportedly running short of basic supplies, echoing earlier concerns aboard the Abraham Lincoln. Anonymous family members of the Boxer crew made the allegations in a report published by Midas News, raising fresh concerns over conditions. Female crew members aboard the warship have reportedly run out of feminine hygiene products during the extended deployment. Crew members have allegedly urged their next of kin to send additional hygiene supplies from home to cover the shortages. One family member claimed sailors were desperately asking for extra pads and tampons so essential supplies could be shared. However, the families reportedly said none of the packages they sent were ever delivered to the sailors on board. The American warship left San Diego in March and reportedly reached the Middle East by late June after its long deployment. The Wasp-class amphibious assault ship has reportedly received no port call since reaching the region, limiting opportunities for resupply. The extended deployment has allegedly complicated normal resupply operations, while also affecting crew rest and rotation schedules. The Boxer is an aging warship that is already scheduled for retirement from the U.S. Navy, adding to questions over its prolonged deployment. The claims echo earlier reports of supply shortages and hygiene problems aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, raising wider questions about Navy readiness. Reports have emerged of difficult living conditions across several U.S. naval deployments, with complaints involving food supplies, water, hygiene products, plumbing, and prolonged periods away from port. Family members and service personnel have shared accounts of living conditions across ships and other military branches, describing a recurring pattern of shortages, fatigue, and poor access to basic facilities. The latest allegations were reported by Midas Touch on August 14th, based on messages from relatives and active duty personnel. The outlet's accounts have not all been independently verified. One service member deployed alongside the USS Abraham Lincoln reportedly told Midas Touch that the reported hardships were real and reflected more than isolated frustrations from a single ship. The same service member reportedly said the issues were not restricted to the USS Abraham Lincoln, suggesting that long deployments and resupply problems may be affecting other units as well. In one message cited by the report, a service member said personnel had not seen land since deploying because of the Iran conflict, illustrating the strain of long stretches without port calls or normal rotation. Another parent said conditions aboard the carrier became progressively worse during their son's deployment, with recurring problems affecting sanitation, water access, food, and basic daily routines. The parent alleged that the ship's water system failed early in the 11-month deployment, leaving sailors unable to shower or wash clothing until the system was restored. Even after the water system was restored, the parent said showers remained tightly rationed, adding to complaints of hygiene problems and declining morale among the crew. Families say supplies repeatedly ran low and conditions worsened when resupply operations and mail deliveries were disrupted, leaving sailors short of food, toiletries, and other essentials. The parent further alleged that toilets backed up and overflowed shortly before their son left the ship, but the Navy has not publicly verified the specific circumstances described in the account. According to the unverified family message, about half a foot of human waste covered the floor of a restroom used by roughly 200 sailors, a claim that illustrates the severity of the reported sanitation crisis. A relative of another sailor claimed crew members had virtually no food, water, or soap, while other reports describe reduced meal portions and shortages of toiletries such as toothpaste, deodorant, and soap. Notably, the USS George H.W. Bush is also deployed in the Middle East as the USS Abraham Lincoln faces reports of extended deployment strain. Sailors seeking clarity from commanding officers have reportedly been told to focus on just today, a response families say has deepened uncertainty about rotation schedules, resupply, and relief plans. Some experienced sailors have reportedly described the deployment as the worst of their careers, pointing to the combination of long shifts, limited rest, supply problems, and prolonged separation from families. Not every account involved naval service, as relatives have also raised concerns about U.S. personnel deployed at bases across the Middle East during the widening regional conflict. One parent reported that their son, who is stationed in Kuwait, was in extremely poor health, though no independently confirmed medical details have been made public. Service members and relatives speaking to Midas Touch urged others to come forward with their own experiences, arguing that wider testimony is needed to force military leaders to address the alleged problems. Taken together, the accounts point to a reported pattern of exhausted troops, dwindling supplies, sanitation issues, and growing morale concerns across extended U.S. deployments linked to the Iran war. USS Abraham Lincoln's 250-day deployment now appears to be colliding with America's Iran blockade, as reports of stretched supplies, limited port calls, and crew welfare concerns draw congressional scrutiny. On August 13th, Pete Hegseth rejected reports of poor conditions aboard USS Abraham Lincoln, insisting the carrier's sailors are receiving all the support the Pentagon can provide. Hegseth also said the U.S. Navy can maintain its blockade of Iranian ports indefinitely, arguing that America can preserve the pressure campaign by rotating ships in and out of the region. Hegseth said, and I quote, "We make sure every ship, every crew, every captain has everything we can provide them at every single moment. Some deployments are longer than others, and I have more respect and gratitude for those sailors than anybody. What they do in those high seas in those austere conditions with fewer port calls, it's incredible. Indefinitely, the United States Navy can maintain a blockade like that because we'll rotate ships in and out, as we have, and will continue to." Unquote. Notably, the USS Lincoln concerns surfaced as the United States is already facing pressure on its wider weapons stockpile after months of operations against Iran. However, U.S. officials, including Hegseth, have dismissed reports of depleted supplies, maintaining that American forces still have the resources needed to sustain the blockade.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.